On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company here on a Thursday morning in your nation's capital. Not just any Thursday morning. It's leap year. It's our bonus day, Patrice Onwuka. We better make the most of it. Don't waste your
Imagine being a baby born today. You get to celebrate your birthday how many... your actual birthday, how many times?
That is literally the plot of Gilbert and Sullivan's Pirates of Penzance. Did you know that?
No, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, a young man who was apprenticed to be a pirate by accident until his 21st birthday. And so he turns 21. He thinks he's free of the pirates, but then they point out, oh, no. You were born on leap year. This is only your fourth birthday and a little bit more. Yeah.
That's awful.
You learn a little something new right here every morning. Here
O'Connor and Company. There you go.
Happy Leap Day, everybody, and make the most of it. You only get one of these every 4 years. Coming up at 6:35, Tiffany Polifko will join us. 7:05, Mary Margaret Olahan, and then 8:05, Mark Morgan, formerly of CBP, about the border visits. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Patrice Onwuka, who knows a little bit more about 19th century British operetta than she did a minute ago.
Thank you, Larry. Always learning on this show.
I'm a big Gilbert and Sullivan fan. You should the precursor to the American musical. Great movie about them, actually, called Topsy Turvy. That is very entertaining. It's about the making of the Mikado. All right, I'll move on.
We got a lot to cover today.
Joe Biden is visiting the border, but not the border the way you're used to seeing the border. It's not the moment. It's not the spot where you see people flooding across. It's not the stop where they're parading through. It's not the spot where it looks like nothing short of an invasion. No, he's going to the only secure part on the border, it appears, Brownsville, Texas. Brandon Judd, the president of the Border Patrol Union, is none too pleased.
Border Patrol agents, they are extremely upset. We're all upset that he is going to Brownsville rather than going to an area where he would be able to evaluate exactly what's going on and to come up with ideas and policies to actually secure the border. Rather, he's going to Brownsville. And that's the exact opposite of what President Trump is doing. He's coming right here to Eagle Pass. He's going to see exactly what has been done to secure this particular area so then he can expand upon that when he gets back in the White House. That's exactly what policymakers should do. That's what people that govern should do. They should look at the areas that are trouble spots so that they can use what has worked and expand upon that. Biden just isn't going to do that.
That's right, Patrice. The only reason to go to the border is to see the problem so you can help be a part of the solution. That's not what he's doing. What he's doing is he's going for a photo op to lie to the American people or those who are most susceptible to his lies, who aren't paying attention or who are getting their news from outlets other than ones like this. You're not going to see, when he's standing there at the border, you're not going to see Bill Malugin or Julio Rosas or Jenny Terre or any of the journalists who are actually covering the reality of the border in the background there. No, you're going to see, it's going to look like Disneyland. It's a Potemkin village. The White House and your tax dollars are paying for a propaganda campaign visit to the border, and it's an insult to the very real dangerous reality of what is going on down there.
You know what you're going to see? You're probably going to see a holding center, processing center with people nicely lined up. Everyone has their sandwiches that they've been given. And, the line will be long. So President Biden will say, you see, this is why we need more resources for processing these immigrants, these illegal immigrants into the country. But what you're not going to see are people wading through the water with babies in their arms, fighting against the current from being swept away. Yeah. You're not going to see the hordes of people from many countries, not just Central America, not just South America, but from across the country, including from China and including from parts of Africa, saying, hey, I flew into Mexico and I'm coming here because I want a new life. Listen, I understand people want America. They want opportunity. But that is not the same as those fleeing violence and fleeing political persecution that warrant an asylum status.
Yes, everybody knows that.
You're not going to see that.
What we're seeing, it's so funny because, it's true. We because of the way they box us in and lie about us, we have to bend over backwards and say, we're all in support of legal immigration. Here's the thing, though. What we're seeing on the border has nothing to do with immigration. This is not immigration.
It's
immigration
illegal.
does not look like this.
No.
Okay, this is an invasion. We have the proper means to immigrate. These are not immigrants.
That's right.
These are lawbreakers, and they're encouraged by this administration. All right, so yesterday, Jackie Henry at the White House press briefing asked Karine Jean-Pierre point blank, why Brownsville? Why is Joe Biden, of all the places to go, why did he choose Brownsville? I want you to listen to Karine Jean-Pierre's answer, and you tell me if she ever actually addresses that question, because it's the only question. Why is he spending tax dollars to create this propaganda campaign visit in this town where there is no illegal crossings? And listen to Karine Jean-Pierre's answer.
Why go to Brownsville, Texas specifically?
Look, I think the president, and I said this at the top, and I've said this many times, he wanted to show that it was important for him to go down there to hear from Border Patrol agents, to hear from first responders and what's going on the ground. He's been to the border before, recently in this administration, and he also wants to lay out the work that he has been able to do with senators in a bipartisan way. We were able to come forward to the American people, push forward a bipartisan bill that dealt with the border, the challenges of the border, that also dealt with a broken immigration system. We were able to do that. And, as I've said many times, it's supported by the Border Patrol Union, U.S. Chambers of Commerce, and that is not something that you see every day. But what ended up happening is that Republicans rejected it. They rejected it because of the last president and the politics around the last president.
The question was, why are you going to Brownsville?
Yeah.
They are, I got to say, they're horrible liars. And in any other universe or social setting, they would be called out on their lies all the time. But in that room and in the corridors of power in Washington, D.C. and in major media corporations, they look at that and think, oh, she's so good. She's so good. She took that question and she spun it right back against Republicans. And if that's your measure of good, okay, go for it. But me, from my eyes, I see it as lying propaganda.
Well, and, something interesting to point out there is to point out Republican support for that, quote, bipartisan bill. That bill, there was a Republican bill in the House called HR2, which would have absolutely addressed the asylum issues. It would have absolutely addressed a lot of these issues in the way that the recent bipartisan bill would not and will never do. So. Yeah. Right. Conservatives, Republicans in the Senate really need to think twice before they sign on to these bills.
Oh, please. We're past that.
Let's just think twice before you become pawns of the White House and talking points for the fodder for the White House.
That would certainly be nice. Yeah, you're so right, though. Listen, you guys really want a bipartisan thing. You've got all the Republicans in the House already on HR2. How about you champion that, and we can come together and we can get that passed? And the only truthful answer is, we couldn't possibly pass the Republicans' border security bill because the Republicans' border security bill would actually have the effect of securing the border. And that's the last thing they want. All right, a little bit more on this, on reaction from Border Patrol agents on the ground who are seeing the tale of two leaders. One going for a photo op that has no grounding in reality on the border. That would be Joe Biden. And the other leader, Donald Trump, who's actually going into the thick of it, into where the real action is, where people are dying. And we'll tell you more about that. It's about to happen just a couple hours from now down in Texas, and we'll give you the preview in just a moment. First, though, it's 6:15.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Is foot pain holding you back? Visit the Good Feet store for a free personalized fitting and test walk.
Later this morning on the Chris Plante Show, anyone questioning the Biden family's millions will be labeled a Russian mole because they love projection. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
I'm so angry about this. Honestly, I've reached the point now with this Biden White House that it is so obvious the lies they tell us. Oh, he's the sharpest man I've ever worked with. Really, because, what we see in public doesn't seem like the sharpest guy in the world. I mean, surely there must be moments.
Except when he's spewing expletives. Then he's sharp.
Oh, yeah, that's
President
what we're
Biden
told,
knows how to
least.
cuss up a storm, apparently.
Yeah. No, it's so obvious, the blatant lies that they tell, that I've reached a conclusion here that they do it because they get a thrill out of it. Because they know they can get away. It's like when a kid breaks the rules sometimes just because for the thrill of it.
Just
And
to
I
see
think
your
that because
reaction.
they know that they can lie so audaciously to the American people, and the media will cover for them, and then turn it around. It's like, oh, Republicans are pouncing on this. Conservatives are seizing on this. They know they can do it. I think they get a thrill out of it. Well, here's a Border Patrol agent who is none too thrilled about Joe Biden's fake visit to the border.
Definitely with the fencing put up, and further down we have the Connex boxes that seem to help, but even still, they still want to just climb over or climb on top of those.
And agents here say that they're dealing with these smugglings on a daily basis. They said that they could catch more migrants crossing here in a day than they can in Brownsville in a week. So that just kind of shows you exactly what the difference is going to be for what Trump and Biden are going to see on the ground. Another live look there, as you can see that migrant now trying to figure out what he's going to do next. He'll be processed and then released, possibly on parole.
All right, so we'll listen. Those are the visits that are going to happen. In the meantime, the actual very real, dangerous, violent ramifications of the Biden border policy rear their head on a daily basis. None more stark than the death of Laken Riley, the nursing student, cut down in the prime of life by an illegal immigrant who had no business being here, a violent criminal who claimed political asylum. We're getting details about her death. Apparently, according to police reports and an affidavit obtained by CBS News, Jose Ibarra, who is facing the murder and assault charges here, is accused of dragging Laken Riley into a secluded area after abducting her on her jogging trail and beat her so badly that her skull was disfigured as a result. Apparently, Laken Riley attempted to call 911 during the attack. For some reason, police have not released that recording to the public. And there's no way they can say that it's going to, damage their case. Or, oftentimes when they're looking for a suspect, when there's a suspect at large, they won't release information like this because it could damage their case. But they've got their suspect.
They do.
There's no one can tell me the reason why they would not release this 911 tape to the public other than for political purposes.
I mean, it's hard to imagine any other reason. Apparently, this man, Mr. Ibarra, should have been removed. He should have been deported. This is exactly the reason why people are rightly upset about what's going on at the southern border and the sanctuary policies in a lot of cities and states that cover for these illegal criminals rather than working with federal law enforcement to ensure that they are removed expeditiously.
Funny you should mention sanctuary city policies. Here's the mayor of Athens, Georgia, 5 years ago.
The Athens-Clarke County Unified Government is welcoming to people from all lands and backgrounds and strives to foster a community where individuals and families of all statuses feel safe, are able to prosper, and can breathe free.
That was his statement as he signed into the civil code the sanctuary city policies of Athens, Georgia. He is now standing up and saying we can't take this one incident and determine policy based on it. This is a one-off. This same man, of course, marched with Black Lives Matter.
Thank you.
After the George Floyd death and said that all police must be defunded because of that one incident. So I don't know. Maybe it's me, but I'm having trouble figuring all of that out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Citizens they're calling it heckling him. They were shouting. They were holding up signs saying, "Stop lying. Her blood is on your hands." And excuse me. Policymakers who think that it's okay to have sanctuary cities because it makes you feel inclusive, you need to recognize that the unintended consequences of bad policies like this. Illegal immigration is not something that should be welcomed or accepted or made comfortable in any community. You need to root it out. Enforce legal immigration. Ensure that legal immigrants can stay here and prosper and breathe fresh air, as he was talking about. But that's not the same as illegal immigrants.
Yeah. Meanwhile, closer to home, we've been talking about the Montgomery County sanctuary policies for years now. I participated in a rally, I think about 6 or 7 years ago, if I remember right, with regard to the policies that were undermining police efforts, increasing crime in Montgomery. We've seen the increase in crime in Montgomery County. It's absolutely through the roof. And the Montgomery County Council refused to allow the police department to cooperate with ICE. Well, apparently things have gotten so bad that even Montgomery County is now claiming that they're going to revisit their policy and they're going to create a structure where Montgomery County Police will, in fact, cooperate with ICE on detainers. Just so you know, ICE issued 198 detainers last year and 119 detainers this year in Montgomery County, and none of them were honored. A detainer is when a criminal, an illegal alien in this country then violates the law even further and is in custody with the police department. ICE issues a detainer to deport them and hand them over to federal law enforcement. And Montgomery County, 198 last year, 119 this year, refused to do so. The crimes that they were committed in Montgomery County: assault, robbery, illegal firearms, sex abuse of a minor, rape, member of MS-13 gangs. Now Montgomery County apparently is rethinking their policy. We'll watch that. I think that it's all for show. It's 6:23.
Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:36 now. O'Connor and Company here Thursday morning. Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting us in your life. Frankly, we never take it for granted.
At least into their car.
Well, yeah,
no, their homes.
I feel like we're part of their lives. They're part of my life.
I think so too.
Right? Coming up at 7:05, Mary Margaret Olahan, Daily Signal. 8:05, Mark Morgan, formerly of Border Protection. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka.
Good morning.
Good morning, Patrice. All right, so Loudoun County, you'd think, listen, every single member of the Loudoun County School Board who was in favor of the atrocious policies that let biological men into the girls' room, that led to that sexual assault, then the cover-up, then the lies, all of them are gone, right? It's a huge victory for the parents' movement in Loudoun County. It doesn't get enough attention. You'd think the Loudoun County school system has been corrected. You'd think that cooler heads prevail. You'd think that some sanity and some logic has now been restored to the elected officials who are making decisions for our schools, for our children. You'd think wrong. Tiffany Polifko, a former member of that board. By the way, she was not one of the bad ones. She got in there, she helped fix things, and then stepped down. She joins us now. Good morning, Tiffany.
Hi, good morning, Larry and Patrice. Thank you so much for having me on this morning.
So they had the opportunity to repeal this policy that is incredibly unpopular, has been lied about. They had to lie to us and arrest Sean Smith, who wanted to speak out about this. They had to lie to get the policy through. They had the opportunity to overturn it. So what happened?
Well, listen, I think everybody knows that what is happening is we want to escape and avoid accountability. So we've got 9 new faces, and we have the same 9 problems that we had for the last 4 years, really. I mean, this is what we're looking at. With the exception of the Ashburn representative at this point, Nina Griffiths, she's the only school board member that I've seen thus far that has actually shown the courage and demonstrated what it means to be a true public servant, Larry and Patrice. I mean, we had a student services subcommittee on February 15th, and parents came out and spoke about this policy, coming out to say we want our daughters and our sons to be in sex-separated facilities when they're using the bathroom. Why haven't you adopted the governor's model policies at this point? Why is this policy still sitting in subcommittee? Fast forward to the school board meeting on Tuesday night, where prior to that, at the subcommittee meeting, the members voted 2-1 to bring in focus groups from the community. So farming out their job to the administration rather than doing the job that they were elected to do in the first place.
That's what elected officials... The school board is a focus group. That's what they're meant to be. They're meant to represent the parents who voted for them and put them there. They don't need to...
That's correct.
Listen, Tiffany, we talked about this. We had people come on the program. Ian Pryor came on the program. We raised awareness, and apparently the turnout of this meeting, I'm looking at pictures, unbelievable, phenomenal. You all had your signs. Members of the Muslim community, the Hindu community, the Chinese community, and take a listen to what ended up happening.
Any new business? Thank you, Madam Chair. Because of the turnout today, I believe that I do have new business. I would like to have policy 8040 on the next agenda as an information item. This is an extremely important issue, and we need a public discussion about it. I would also like to hear feedback from other board members.
All right, so policy 8040 is the policy that they're trying to sort of push through that they pretend actually fits Governor Youngkin's model policies, but it really doesn't, not the ways that I read it. Tiffany, what's happening here?
Yeah, so you heard it. Dina Griffiths brought forward the information at new business because it should have been on the information items for the agenda, and the school board, again, doesn't want to push it through, so they'll do everything they can to keep it buried in that subcommittee. Not one other person on that school board had the courage to press the button on their microphone and say, yes, I support Dina Griffiths because I believe this information needs to come forward to the public. They had the opportunity. She was very clear in what she said. She wants that coming forward because of the public interest. And you know what? Listen, I don't care what side you're on. If you're on my side and my opinion on this, or you're not on my side, the public wants a resolution. And they put those people there. Their taxes are paying their salaries. They need to do their job and stop farming our voices out to some arbitrary third party that's not even going to be selected by them.
Yeah.
Well, and Tiffany, as I look at the calendar, I can't help but think the school board is pushing this delay tactic to maybe potentially to get to the end of the school year. I don't know. But from a strategic perspective, what's the next step? How can parents ensure not just that this policy gets on the next school board agenda, but bigger picture to ensure that there are needed reforms to it? How can parents continue to be involved here?
Parents have to speak out. They need to show up. And I will say that turnout was incredible the other night. It was amazing to walk into that boardroom and see nearly every seat filled with someone holding up a sign saying, I am your focus group. We are the focus group. We, the people, are the focus group, the ones who you represent, who put you in your seat up on the dais. So anybody who knows about what's going on, I mean, gosh, for the last several years, people have to know. I mean, this is the woke Vatican here in Loudoun County. Everybody's got to know what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, then, I mean, you just must not have a pulse. Get out. Come to the school board meetings. Speak out. Make your voice heard. This is something that affects every single child in Loudoun County Public Schools, and there's nothing more important than protecting our children.
Sadly, I think the woke Vatican is the Vatican. But yes, it's a good point. All right. Listen, Tiffany, thanks for raising awareness on this as usual. When's the next meeting? And see, here's the thing. I feel like if parents don't show up to every single meeting, as soon as they see, a sort of a quiet time, they'll just jam it through with no public debate.
Well, and that's the MO. I mean, it's how do we avoid accountability? They want the least bit of accountability possible.
All right.
And,
so we just need to make sure we get out at every meeting. So we'll keep raising awareness on it as well. You're doing a great job. Wish you were back on the dais there, but I know that you can't give every ounce to the school board. I wish you could, but I wish there were also about 1,000 more like you. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Hey, listen, Larry and Patrice, listen. When are you going to make my wildest dream come true and bring me back on for Critter News?
Oh, you know what? We will work that
from
through.
your lips to our Heather Hunter,
talk to our people.
Ears.
I need Critter News. Thank you.
Moving on to more legal news with Donald Trump. The Supreme Court has, in fact, agreed to review the D.C. Appeals Court decision that removed any Trump defense regarding immunity from his. Let me rephrase this. The Supreme Court is going to review that appeals court decision that sided with Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, in that Donald Trump had no presidential immunity for the speech that he gave on January 6th. Supreme Court said that it's going to decide whether he does have that immunity. Obviously, this has much broader constitutional and historical implications than just Donald Trump. It was a 6-3 conservative majority, of course, that will hear the arguments the week of April 22nd. What does that mean? It means everything gets pushed back. Now, this case was supposed to have happened next week. It was supposed to start. Everything has been suspended. All the pretrial hearings were suspended. Jury selection, everything has been suspended pending this appeals process. And so now the pipe dream of Democrats to get Jack Smith to prosecute Donald Trump as a so-called insurrectionist over January 6th, even though he's not being charged with insurrection, to get that prosecution before Election Day seems like an absolute complete fantasy now at this point.
Well, and that's why heads are blowing up over at MSNBC. I saw some reaction from some Democratic senators, including and members, including Jamie Raskin and others who are, at this point they seem actually deflated because they recognize now the legal warfare against President Trump may not work to their advantage. They're expecting that the Supreme Court would rule in President Trump's favor. And let's not forget, April 22nd is I believe that week is when these oral arguments are supposed to be heard. By that point, we would have passed March 5th when there's Super Tuesday and March 12th when there's another tranche of states having their primaries. Yeah. So you're talking about dozens of states already have had their primaries before this case is even heard.
Their sights are set on November, actually, and it's more relevant for November. And listen, theoretically, if the Supreme Court decides by late June, which is probably when the decision comes in, that no, he has no immunity, then I have no doubt that they'll ramp this up, and they will want this trial to take place literally in September and October during the presidential campaign. I have no doubt that they will try to do that. Jamie Raskin, as you mentioned on CNN.
Obviously, we can't put all of our hopes in the Supreme Court. The people need to be engaged and aroused at this point to demand that there be justice, but also to be organizing for the election.
Wow, that sounds insurrection-y, doesn't it? That is actually more incitement that Donald Trump ever said on January 6th. Engaged and aroused to demand justice.
Can I just say aroused is a really, really odd word choice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm with you on that. That's fair. Meanwhile, over at MSNBC, Elie Mystal, he's the guy who looks like a black Q-tip.
The appeals court gives a bulletproof ruling, as Dahlia says, and they still decide to take it up.
What it says is that they are corrupted political actors who act in bad faith. The reason why people like Mark and people like Dahlia seem to have a crystal ball is because they're real. Because they're realists and they understand the court for what it is. And at some point, people in the media, people at home, and people sitting in the White House have to stop pretending that the Supreme Court is some kind of benign, trying to do its best institution and start to realize that there are 6 Republicans, not conservatives, Republicans on the Supreme Court who view it as their job to help the Republican Party. And until we do something about that, until we take away that power, until we draw the line on them there, they will continue to do this. They will help Trump. They will take away abortion rights. They will end affirmative action. They will liberalize gun rights. They will.
You can hear the spittle coming out of his mouth there.
Yeah.
And again, understand, these are the people who are trying to prosecute Donald Trump because they think he is a threat to our Constitution. He's a threat to the balance of power. He's a threat to our institutions. And listen to the rhetoric here about how people in the White House have to stand up and push back against the Supreme Court because they must be stopped. I'm sorry, that again, more volatile insurrection rhetoric right there than you ever heard from Donald Trump on January 6th. But this whole case is about Donald Trump going to jail for giving a speech on that day.
Is that the arousal that Jamie Raskin wants us to be? I mean,
you know what?
Listen.
You need to stop saying arousal and Jamie Raskin in the same sentence. You're ruining arousal for all of us.
I'm just saying, he's the one who put it out there, and you got this clip by Elie Mystal. Yeah.
It's like the
you.
anti-arousal. It's like the anti-Viagra going on here is what it is. It's like it's got the reverse effect. And let's just move on. 6:53.